My vacation gave me a time to read a book I've had for a couple of months, kind of waiting for the right time to read it. I don't read much fiction. I'm kind of a history nut, but I'm worn out by the history books. I'm just so tired. So this friend of mine wrote this book. I thought I would give it a go. So I showed it to my daughter, Beth, who knows all things. Oh, she said, it's a chick book. You will love it. I didn't know I could read a chick book, but new things, right? Well, it did lift my spirits. It was based in Seattle, so I laughed at all the characters that did the Seattle things. You had characters to root for, and you had characters that you hoped would get there just desserts. You pretty much imagined the ending that would happen, but the twists and turns to get there were delightful. There was even a holy fool, that character that seems the goof, who turns out having wisdom that brought the main character hope. I laughed out loud many times. Alex had me in the palm of her writer's hand. It was fiction, but I believed it. Okay? So it's The Checklist by Addie Woolridge. Her real name is Alex Massengale. She has a serious job, so I think that's why she has a pseudonym. So Dylan, the main character, had a checklist for everything. That's how she functioned in life, and it's how she gets through difficult times. So I'm so tired, like so many of you. I spent a week avoiding my office and my computer, which is where my work happens. I just couldn't face it. You know, not my iPad, I carry it around with me all the time, but mostly for the Facebook things that say I'm tired too. It makes me feel like I'm not alone. So here's one. Is it burnout? ADHD? The trauma of an ongoing pandemic? Capitalism? Climate crisis? Just kidding. It's all these things, and the only answer I've got for us is go lay down. Well, I do lay down a lot. Thank you very much. But now it's just not helping. There are systems and powers that are still working in the world that exhaust most of us, some of us much more than others. Now, when Solomon is asking for God to bless the temple that Solomon has built for God, there are exhausted, conscripted people, Solomon's own people, that he barely even remembers. The building project was so demanding. It reminded you of Egypt and the people being worked to death. John Dominic Crossan wrote, in the Hebrew Bible, God says, I reject your worship because of your lack of justice. God never says, I reject your justice because of your lack of worship. So what was Solomon really asking? Continued power? He mentions his father many times, and I built is a mantra. The Solomon the wise seems to be someone who has already developed systems and powers that will bring misery to the poor and downfall for the nation. Now, Ephesians, however, gives us a checklist. How do we go out into the world and not be so weary and tired? Almost like superheroes being fit for battle, because these systems are strong and are out to get us. Economic injustice, racial injustice, gender injustice, the list goes on and on. We need the belt of truth to recognize these systems and powers and reveal the truth of their existence. The breastplate of right relationships, which takes a lot of work. The beautiful feet of peace bringers who walk where many avoid going. This is a defensive armor to defend ourselves and be able to work for justice. We jump ahead to the hard work that Jesus was asking his disciples to follow. Flesh and blood, language of sacrifice, to abide, to rest in who Jesus was, the flesh and blood of the way of Jesus. In giving himself for the world, this was incarnational language, the humanness of this holy way. The way of Jesus was hard, not just understanding of what he was asking. It was the understanding of just who Jesus was. Bread and wine sounds much more understandable. Flesh and blood, this blood that is forbidden in Jewish law. Blood is considered the life force of a living being. But here, Jesus is offering this life force. It is a mystery. But thinking of Jesus' gift of flesh and blood being a life force works for me. To be able to rise up and follow, to imagine this realm of God's justice as we answer the call. May it ever be so.